I'm Chad Reynolds. In this session is really focused on co-creation as a new business model for brands to operate. So, joined by Kevin. Kevin, you want to do a quick intro about you?
Sure. We have cool things in common too in the background. You'll cover them.
No, go for it. Okay.
Well, first of all, Chad and I were randomly matched, but we were both P&G children, so we discovered that during our intro. So his mom worked at P&G, and my dad worked
34 years.
34 years ago.
I literally grew up with shampoo bottle A and B in the shower.
Yes.
With a notepad on the sink.
Exactly.
I got a rash.
And P&G R&D, both R&D. So we grew up with all sorts of product in the house at all times. But we just met.
Yeah, small connection.
But yes, I'm Kevin Shapiro, and I lead U.S. marketing at COTY, which I've been with COTY for about 5 years, but no stranger to the beauty industry. We've established kind of second generation, and we're fortunate to also work in the beauty industry at a number of different companies, and right now leading our cosmetics, mass fragrances, self-tanning, and hair categories.
Awesome. Well, this session came out of a byproduct of a conversation and fascination or enthusiasm around just how brands are shifting how they operate today. So, co-creation came up a lot. It's like it's like a trending over the last 5 years. Just curious, like how you might define co-creation at COTY, and then how are you implementing it to change how business is done? Maybe before I go, I don't know if you can share a little bit about just the specifics to COTY, because it's a unique business model.
Sure.
Maybe specifically at
Sure. So when Chad and I were talking about topics and thinking about what we wanted to talk about, he actually brought up co-creation. And the minute I heard it, I was like, yes, because first of all, co-creation is a core value at COTY. And when I say core value, our values at COTY are not like abstract core values. They're really core values that are directly linked to our business. And that's because at COTY, unlike a lot of our competitors, something that sets us apart is that a significant portion of our net revenue is licensed business. So we are in a unique position, unlike most of our competitors that are mostly owned brands, where we are the stewards of other people's brands. Meaning that, for example, our Gucci fragrance and Gucci makeup business is a licensed business. Kering, that owns Gucci fashion, is the licensor. But for the consumer, from a marketing perspective, from a go-to-market perspective, while we manufacture and distribute and market the fragrance, as a consumer, it should be seamless. There should be no differentiation between Gucci fragrance and Gucci fashion. It should just be Gucci. And so when Chad mentioned co-creation, it just immediately seemed like something that was a great topic to cover, because it's something that is uniquely important for COTY and uniquely important for us to master and continue to be masters of, so that we are seen as the leader in licenses in the beauty industry.
So specifics, like how does it work as you were executing different marketing campaigns, experiences, products, because it is coming from also a house of influence, fashion, style, we have strong brands, personalities, but also the ways that you're working with consumers seem to be shifting as well. Maybe you share some stories about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So co-creation, as the name suggests, is really working with all the different, or as many different stakeholders and inputs as you can have from your, whether that's developing product concepts, marketing campaigns, go-to-market strategies. And as the landscape continues to evolve and influencers and creators are more and more important, as retailers continue to drive their equity within the beauty space, thinking about, for example, tie-ups in the retailer landscape. For example, Ulta Beauty you now see inside of Target, Sephora you see inside of Kohl's. I'm thinking about the increased complexity and depth of relationships, in addition to the licensors, in addition to talent that we might have representing our brands. The onus for co-creation is even more important. So for example, one of the things that everyone is talking about, and we're of course acting on, I'll use a non-licensed brand as an example because there's still co-creation on non-licensed brands, which is a lot of things that we've done to really step change our advocacy efforts. I'll use CoverGirl as an example, where if you think about CoverGirl and what it means, 20 years ago it literally meant that you were on the face of a magazine on a physical newsstand as a cover girl. And when your brand name is inherently associated with something that's undergoing change, you have to change while being true to the core, but you have to change and evolve the touch points and the ways in which consumers experience your brand. Because we obviously wouldn't want our cover girl to go the way of actual cover girls who, most books don't even have print editions anymore. They're digital properties. And so part of co-creation is for us further reaching out and further building links to the creator community, to influencers, understanding how a product that we might develop through our ways of development with our R&D and our labs and our production, what are the ways that influencers are using the product, what are looks that they are getting, and how do they bring CoverGirl to the forefront of their creative outlets and all of their social channels, which is how consumers are learning about the brand today. So in that example, co-creation is really about how do you keep the brand at the forefront and how do you make sure you're always breathing new life into the brand and building something that is going to excite influencers, which then in turn is going to create an output of content that will excite consumers.
It really seems like a shift in the concept of loyalty, where you can start to build relationships with consumers at scale, and really include everyone that is not only can it impact products that you're making, the stories that you tell, even the spaces, the experiences they're opening up to them. And I know one particular space is in Miami, I believe. If you could share a little bit about the studio, how that came to be.
Yeah, so recently we opened a creative studio in Miami in our offices specifically for CoverGirl and for the influencer community in Miami. And I think it's another true example of co-creation where it wasn't just one or two parties or stakeholders involved. It was really bringing together a lot of stakeholders. So one of the stakeholders, of course, was us, the brand. Another one, in this case, was an office that is a COTY office, but actually is not the home to U.S. operations. It's the home to our LATAM exports team. But the Miami influencer market is vibrant. It is a key market for the U.S. Hispanic consumer, an influencer community, especially those who make content in Spanish, which is an important cohort of those consumers. The third group of stakeholders was to make sure that we are building something that influencers need and will represent value for them. And so we did a lot of work I did a lot of work, my team did a lot of work to talk to influencers and understand what are things that you wish you had a year ago or 2 years ago when you had less following? What are barriers that we can help remove so you can grow your business and your properties? What are things we can do to enable you? And so understanding that part of that involves having a space, having the physical space to come and create content, to either not rent studio space or not have to have a whole room set up in their house or apartment dedicated to content creation is actually a real benefit. And so really kind of building that was important to us. But we also, a lot of brands that are mass brands, in today's world, we need to speak to different cohorts in an authentic way. So we had opened the studio in New York already a few months prior. And one of the most important questions we wanted to make sure to answer with the studio was, how does CoverGirl live within Miami? How do we make sure to create a creator experience and studio in Miami that is authentically CoverGirl, but respects the Miami culture and aesthetic and vibes, and CoverGirl sees ourselves as a guest in Miami as opposed to replicating the CoverGirl studio in New York one for one. So there were two key things that really three key things. We worked in detail with three influencers from the community in Miami of different levels of following, nano, micro, and kind of smaller macro to have input on the layout, the equipment, and the aesthetics. The second piece is that we hired a local Miami designer, and we were able to share what are kind of our key elements of our visual identity and equity on CoverGirl, but also have a dialogue with her to get Miami aesthetics as part of the studio. And then the third thing is we actually worked with a local artist because we had a full wall. We wanted to do some sort of design, mosaic. We didn't have anything super specific in mind, but similar with the designer, we placed a local artist. So she's a local female artist, and obviously as a brand, we want to empower women, we want to empower creativity, we want to represent opportunity and uplifting spirit. We'd already seen the type of work that she did, and we felt like there was aesthetic overlap between our brand equity and the work that she was already doing. And so that was another piece to show how when CoverGirl comes to a community to create content, we're coming as a guest, we're coming humbly, and we're coming there for the community to bring its elements of expression and uplifting power to, through the content creation with our brand.
And I know working with influencers may have kind of shifted over the last few years, feeling more transactional. I think one of the things we talked about was just the rise of you're building relationships. Why can't you create with multiple brands across the whole portfolio? So why limit it to just one thing? I think a lot of brands previously would, if you wear Adidas shoes, you get pitted up for the leg. That's not reality. You're mixing that brands behind all sorts of things. Bring style. I think how you're starting to work with consumers, creators, in lots of different ways, even across the portfolio. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something where when we think about co-creation, it's also about leveraging the learnings and leveraging the relationships and not reinventing the wheel. So one example recently where that was really exciting is there were a couple of influencers that we met a year ago at an event in LA that we were sponsoring for Sally Hansen. And I was at the event with a couple of folks from our team, so we got to meet them among others. And it was such a positive interaction. We work with influencers all the time, and I meet a lot of folks, so those who stand out, and these two stood out to us. And actually, we continued to engage them on Sally Hansen and throughout the last year, and including, they were in New York, they came to the studio in the Empire State Building, they've come to support, obviously drive awareness with their followers, we've done events in Miami, so they've kind of now, even though they're LA based, have kind of been excited to become mobile and represent, Sally Hansen and our projects with them. And actually, they came to us about a month ago with a year-long proposal to work both on CoverGirl and Sally Hansen with us because they like working with COTY, they like working with my team. They like that we have certain products and brand objectives, but we're also looking for their input and their spin and how they feel comfortable and beautiful and uplifted when using CoverGirl and Sally Hansen. And so, we're now also working with them on CoverGirl because at the end of the day, someone who's an easy breezy, beautiful CoverGirl from a lip, eye, face standpoint also wants beautiful nails or beautifully tanned legs or perfectly removed hair with our Sally Hansen wax strips. So there's so much opportunity because to your point, people are dressing from face downward, head to toe. They use other products as well.
Yeah. But I wonder, just noticed hit me that we kind of look like we work at Chili's. Chili's. I'm curious, how the reason we call this talk about the new operating model feels like co-creation is kind of like a new operating system. Combating the traditional ways of top-down and command and control a brand, push it out and influence it. It feels like this is much more bottom-up approach. What are some of the ways that we've had to change the mindset maybe of the team, internal culture of how to work differently. Because it's not as easy as updating your Mac, right? And you go to this new version, now you realize the skills and tools you can use. It's not like that. So
yeah, it takes a significant mindset shift. When I started in marketing, and I feel like I'm talking about a whole other generation because of how much marketing has evolved because of social platforms, advocacy, and influencers. But when I started in marketing, it was truly kind of the marketer as God. I mean, I don't mean that in like a religious way, but marketers work with local concepts, the product concepts. Marketers work with R&D to develop the claims. Marketers would work with legal and safety and regulatory to validate the claims and then validate those claims across markets and then kind of do a little bit of consumer testing, or maybe a lot of consumer testing along the way, but with just regular people or regular people who do focus groups or quant testing. And now marketers really need to be a conductor of the orchestra and understand the expertise that each individual instrument player brings, which is your creator community. So instead of writing concepts now and testing them with 600 or 2,000 consumers, now we're writing concepts and we're putting them in front of influencers and we're saying, is this interesting to you? If this product existed and we mailed it to you, would you post about it? What would you do with it? What does it sound like to you? Have you seen other things like this? And then we ask them, if we were to then we take away the concept and say, well, if you play this back, what are 3 things you would say about it? And now we're gathering that vocabulary to say, how do we build this into the concept? How do we make sure that this is influencer language and influencer aesthetics that are still uniquely coverable or uniquely Sally Hansen or uniquely Rimmel London, depending on what we're developing, but how do we make sure that by the time the product comes out, whether it's the influencers that actually consulted with us on the development or other influencers, they feel like, yeah, this is interesting, this is cool, this makes me want to post, this makes me want to take action. Because in today's world, if you don't have that instant advocacy which starts with product, you're not going to get the posts and consumers will never hear about your product because they are interested in what makeup artists, lifestyle, comedians, whoever is posting for your campaign, whatever, moms, whatever cohort you're using it for your campaign, consumers want to hear from them how it fits into their lives.
It just feels like the shift from influence to authentic community and like let them drive when you guys are supplying all the ingredients to get there. Wanted to open it up for any questions. I think we have a microphone somewhere. Yeah. And the COTY Sky Miles are not real.
Shit. Okay.
No.
Thank you for telling me that. So Chad hit on this a little bit, Kevin, but I'm interested. I read a good post the other day where someone was making a delineation between creators and influencers and saying all influencers are creators, but not all creators are influencers, meaning they are there to literally create. And they might create for brands, but they don't need personality for themselves. I think we're, conservatively 6 years into influencer marketing now. How do you look at maybe the evolution of what KPIs, what success are for influencers versus working with platform-centric creators who really know how to build content that fits the brand, which is Sally Hansen, et cetera, in a platform?
I'm going to challenge the assumption a little bit before I answer, which is that for me, I don't make a big distinction between influencers and creators because to me, everyone who is working with beauty products is passionate about it. Everyone has an informed perspective based on their platform or their audience. And I agree with the premise that not everyone is a creator from necessarily the start to finish ground up, but everyone who's an influencer is an entrepreneur, is someone who has a perspective on product, on marketing, or on vocabulary or on packaging or on how they can bring a product to life. And so what I said earlier about being the conductor is really about tapping into the right types of input from the creator community or the right types of input from the influencer community. So it's really kind of having that co-creative mindset. We're not looking to, a specific cohort of influencers to develop work, but really the individual perspectives. And some of them have a lot more to say about packaging. Some of them have a lot more to say about the product finish or the applicators. I mean, makeup, like the brush is critical on mascara, the doe foot is critical on your concealer. So even within the influencer and creator community, there are different things that we're kind of more focused on or hyper aware to, without going into all the examples because of the complexity of cosmetics. It's really just kind of talking to a variety of influencers and creators to understand, like, if it's someone who's very into application or very into shape matching, like, let's really gather their expertise on that topic, but then let's also talk to other influencers and creators who are very particular about appearance or about of the packaging or finishes or other things.
And if you're looking for a KPI, what we did a couple years ago, we asked one question: do you feel valued, included, and supported by this brand? We put 10 brands in a category in front of them and had them ranked them top to bottom to find which ones made them feel included. And there was a correlation between how consumers ranked that brand and their growth. And I think that at the end of the day, everybody wants to feel included in something, feel like they matter. I think brands have such a cool opportunity to see, build products quickly. And hopefully some of the stories we shared today were going to shine a light on some of those things. Oh no, tough question.
Last one. This was actually for you, Chad. We talked a little bit about co-creation and then as a new operating model. Can you just speak a little bit more to what you've been building at Vurvey as kind of a tool, as a platform, as an ecosystem that can really accelerate the co-creation process?
Yeah, so Vurvey, short for video survey. I know it's super creative name, but we started out to scale consumer research and make it more democratized, because you could only pick like the 8 people to go in a room. And what if the room was the world, and you could scale everybody's voices? So that's what we're excited about. That's what we're building. Been in co-creation for 15 years. A weird fact is that I've owned the registration trademark of the word co-creation back from 2010. So I've been doing this a long time, and it definitely feels like it's a huge opportunity to move from followers to creators, followers to influencers to creators. And I think the brands that are going to win are the ones that open that up and scale. Yeah.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks, everyone.